Niner Empire, what's going on? Cam Rogers with you for the 49ers report on this Sunday afternoon. Let's get into the latest 49ers rumors. Is there a lack of respect for DeForest Buckner out there? 4 Jed heads, yes indeed. So I understand that interior defenders often don't get a lot of credit, but DeForest Buckner is coming off an elite year if you ask Pro Football Focus, and you wouldn't know that if you looked at the latest Vegas odds to capture the Defensive Player of the Year. DeForest Buckner isn't even on the list, but Ahkello Witherspoon is at 50-1 odds, and no disrespect to Ahkello Witherspoon, he's a good player, should break out in 2018 in his second year. But, I mean, we're talking about a guy who is a stalwart on the interior of the defensive line. When you think about DeForest Buckner, he is a guy that you have to game plan for if you're an opposing team. And with the 49ers having some concerns at edge rusher right now, who's going to break out and all that, you don't even have to think about the interior of the line because DeForest is the anchor there. So I'd expect to give this a little chip on the shoulder here for Mr. Buckner as he heads into 2018. He'll see that list. He won't see his name, and he'll be like, you know what? I'm going to go off this year. And I expect him to. All his teammates are calling him DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. That's his nickname, legit. So unbelievable that the Vegas odds don't give him any respect. All right, rumor number 2 on the list. I just mentioned it. Breakout year for Ahkello Witherspoon. We're going to give this 3 Jed heads, thinking it's pretty likely we're faithful in it. So Bleacher Report released its selections for breakout candidates for each team, and Witherspoon checks in for the 49ers. He picked off a couple passes last year, graded pretty well according to Pro Football Focus. He surrendered a passer rating of just 66.4 between weeks 13 through 16, and didn't give up a touchdown in the month of December. And you got Richard Sherman there as the top-line corner heading into 2018. Ahkello Witherspoon is that second guy, which tells me that Witherspoon, and K'Wan Williams for that matter, will get a ton of looks because nobody's going to be throwing at Richard Sherman if he continues to play at an elite level. So the work is cut out for Ahkello Witherspoon. He's going to get a lot of targets, which means a lot of opportunities to make plays and get a couple interceptions in 2018. All right, rumor number 3 on the list, Tarvarius Moore. Is he impressing everybody at camp right now? So we're giving this 2 heads in terms of perhaps making a big-time impact. And it's always a bit of a risk here when you're transitioning somebody from safety to corner or from corner to safety. In this instance, Moore is going from a safety to cornerback, and he's been earning increased reps due to the recoveries of Richard Sherman and Jimmy Ward, who was dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury the last couple of weeks. Matt Barrows called him one of the pleasant surprises of the spring, and that's great news as that secondary continues to come into form here. And I think Moore can really make an impact in that back end because he has that tall and lanky type of physicality to him, somewhat like Ahkello Witherspoon. So he fits that 49ers cornerback mold that I think will work really well in the Robert Saleh defensive scheme. All right, rumor number 4 here on the list. Jimmy Garoppolo struggles. Are they a big deal? Should we be wigging out about them? Guys, let's all relax. 1 Jed head here. So this coming from Pro Football Talk that the 49ers really didn't perform well in the final week of mandatory minicamp. Garoppolo reportedly only completed 8 of 20 passes in 1 minicamp practice. And Kyle Shanahan was pretty vocal too. He said the offense didn't look good. But let's all just have some perspective here, folks. It's minicamp we're talking about, not even training camp yet. Mistakes are an important part of off-season workouts. Wouldn't you rather have players work out the kinks a little bit during minicamp and OTAs and training camp and even preseason rather than the regular season? So negative reports here of Garoppolo and the offense in general really isn't the biggest deal in the world. Mistakes are going to happen. So no worries, Niner Empire, on that. Rumor number 5 here on the list. Will Kendrick Bourne start over Pierre Garcon? Yeah, 1 Jed head here. This coming from Niners Wire in a recent mailbag here. And Kendrick Bourne has seen some increased first-team reps, but he's not going to start over Pierre Garcon barring injury. Now, Garcon is at a critical point where his guaranteed money runs out after 2018. He's 33 in the year of 2019. That said, Garcon can kind of have that Anquan Boldin type of career, right? Where he utilizes his physicality, that basketball type of style, jumping up and getting the football, and there's a lot of longevity to that type of wide receiver. Anquan Boldin played for quite some time. Probably could have played a little longer if he did not retire for other reasons out there. So my projected starting wide receivers here, Garcon, Goodwin, Taylor, Kendrick Bourne, Dante Pettis obviously would be the case here in a 5 wide receiver set. But Garcon, Goodwin will be the top 2 guys. Trent Taylor in the slot there. I like Kendrick Bourne a lot. I'm buying into the offseason report so far. And I do like Dante Pettis. Don't sleep on Richie James and Aldrick Robinson as well. So who will have the most receiving yards in 2018? I want you guys to open up your crystal balls a little bit here. Give me your predictions. Give me a heart for Pierre Garcon, a like for Marquise Goodwin, a wow face for Trent Taylor, and a laughing face for somebody else on the wide receiver depth chart. If you ask me, I think it's going to be Goodwin. He's an electric player, can really make the big-time plays down the football field. Garcon may actually lead the team in receptions, but if we're talking receiving yards, I think it's Marquise Goodwin. So we're on Facebook Live, we're on YouTube. Hit me with those reactions. And with that, we get to rumor number 6 here. Is inside linebacker the 49ers' deepest position? 3 jet heads on this one. Faithful in it, but I'm not going to go with 4 because I really like where the secondary sits right now, particularly at cornerback. But Reuben Foster is starting to get more inside linebacker repetitions. You have Brock Coyle, who will come back for training camp. Fred Warner is a solid player, a rookie, of course, and he should make an impact in 2018 as well. Now, like I said, deepest position, there's an argument to be made with the secondary at cornerback with Richard Sherman, Ahkello Witherspoon, K'Wan Williams. Now, here's my projected middle linebacker depth chart. I'm going to put Reuben Foster here. Now, I'm going to put a little asterisk next to it in the air as you see me do it because Foster could be that will linebacker. Malcolm Smith could be the middle linebacker there for 2018, so keep that in mind. Fred Warner, should injuries happen, he could see an increased role. Brock Coyle, like I said, coming back from a shoulder injury. Eli Harold is there as well. All right, we're going to get to my next rumor here about Staley and McGlinchey becoming best pals. But first, a word from our friends at Game Time.
Did you know that ticket prices can actually go down right before the game? That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time tracks ticket prices in real time from thousands of trusted sellers, then shows you all the best deals. So we can get tickets at the last minute for up to 60% off. Download Game Time now.
All right, 4 jet heads on this one. It is indeed a thing, folks. Staley and McGlinchey are reportedly getting along really well, and when you have your 2 starting tackles meshing well together, that's probably good news. And the duo recently was actually captured on social media singing a Backstreet Boys song at a karaoke bar, and some dance moves were attempted as well. So when you look at the offensive line, the number one thing that you want is chemistry, is personability, but also just becoming friends in general on the football field and off the football field. So continuity is critical for an offensive line because if there is some friction there and people aren't in sync on that front 5, that's when you see mistakes. So here's my projected starting offensive line for 2018. Staley at left tackle, Lincoln Tomlinson at left guard, Richburg there at center, Cooper at right guard, but I'm not going to count out Joshua Garnett, and then McGlinchey there at right tackle. So really good to see that McGlinchey is meshing well with Joe Staley because eventually Staley could usher in, as he retires, Mike McGlinchey as that starting left tackle. We shall see. All right, let's get to rumor number 8 here on the list. Should leadership improve this year for the 49ers? Feeling pretty good about this one. Going to toss up 3 jet heads here. And I want to zone in on 2 players in particular, Jimmy Garoppolo and Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, albeit has not had a lot of practice reps so far, has yet to be fully cleared, has made a major impact in the leadership department. Jimmy Garoppolo obviously stands for himself on that offensive side and for the team in general. This is a guy who has essentially put a big-time spark into the lifeblood of this team on special teams, offense, off the field, however you want to put it. Garoppolo gives this team a lot of confidence, gives the fans a lot of confidence as well, and Sherman has been going out with the secondary to dinner and buying them things and all this stuff, and it's those little things, folks, that eventually add up, that make you a good team, and the leadership is going to be so important when the going gets tough in 2018, because, guys, the going will get tough. There is a really difficult schedule, especially at the beginning of the year for the 49ers, and if they face their fair share of adversity, Garoppolo will be there. Richard Sherman will be there. Of course, Joe Staley is there as well to kind of ease through the tough times. All right, let's get to rumor number 9 here. Garrett Celek. Did he make most of his opportunities last season? What do I mean by that? I'll tell you. 4 Jetheads on this one. So, Football Outsiders developed a stat called yards after the catch plus. So it's not like your typical yards after the catch. This is how they define it. It estimates how much yards after catch a receiver gained compared to what we would have expected from an average receiver catching passes of similar length in similar down and distance situations. You get all that? So it's basically relative to the average out there among receivers in a particular situation. Well, guess what? Garrett Celek led in that stat last year. Yes, even beating out Rob Gronkowski. We've talked a lot about the wide receivers for this team on this very 49ers report presented by Game Time. But don't sleep on the tight ends, too. George Kittle, Garrett Celek, these guys can make plays, and when defenders out there are focusing in on the likes of Jerick McKinnon and Marquise Goodwin and Pierre Garcon, don't sleep on Garrett Celek and George Kittle coming out of nowhere, catching a few red zone touchdowns. So there you go.